After a 5-month COVID-19 enforced layoff, the Gallagher Premiership is back. Across the 6 games, we were treated to some wonderful rugby with 29 tries being scored between the 12 teams. As was to be expected, there was some rustiness evident between teams and individuals, with players who were normally calm under pressure faltering, and indeed teams struggling to adapt to some of the new variations within the laws. Even with ball in play time being around 8 minutes lower than it would normally be, we were treated to some wonderful displays of rugby and some cracking tries. When Sale kick-started the league away at Harlequins, we were immediately provided with a picture of what the teams have been focusing on during the off-season. Notice how quickly Harlequins organised themselves into a multi-threat setup, with options across the field, this time Marcus Smith choosing to go long. What I really love about this play is that it's all a part of a much bigger plan. 20 minutes later, Harlequins find themselves in a very similar position and indeed quickly work into a very similar exit pattern. However, it's all a part of the deception. They've lulled Sale into thinking the kick's going long, with Marcus Smith out the back in a similar position to where he was before, this time using the crossfield. In a bit of space, Ashton uses great skill and awareness to chip through, noticing the yard was closing him down, and now it's all about just keeping the ball alive and not letting that Sale defence set. As would become a theme for all teams for the weekend, that phase of play ends up with a penalty, and indeed this is within the first minute of the game. The ever impressive Tom Curry getting over the ball and getting a penalty for holding on. So what's happening at the ruck? In order to promote player safety and uphold the laws of the game, there's a few significant changes. One of them being that the 45-degree angle entry is no longer permitted. This is a significant change and has a massive bearing on the time that the jackler has to get in and over the ball. Curry is currently side on to the tackle. He'll take a J-line entry, squaring his hips up and coming into the ruck area directly behind the hindmost foot, enabling him to go for the ball legally. Where this has a big impact is for the attack, who can no longer take that direct 45-degree angle and instead have to do the same J-line entry, come in through the back foot, and that extra half a second is all the best jacklers need. One of the hardest areas for teams to adapt to is the need for both the attack and the defence to stay up on their feet, maintaining a contest between both teams. But fear not, even with all of this change and the time it takes to adapt, the Caterpillar ruck has survived. As modelled by London Irish, the slightly peculiar area of the game involves a number of players queuing up behind each other in order to give the scrum half additional protection to kick the ball. However, not to get distracted by the amount of time these situations take to get set up, we can learn a great deal about how teams are reacting to these kick chase scenarios. Notice Leicester Tigers gathering around in a bunch around the ball, something that we've not seen a great deal before in order to protect the catcher. This situation really caught my eye in the way that Landacho uses an NFL-style blocking to stop McGuigan from getting near the ball, altering his line and giving Earl plenty of time to get up in the air. Now it's about the two pillars, blocking the Sale defence from getting to him and gives Akers a space to run into. Those magical line breaks often don't happen by magic. One of the standout statistics of the weekend was the number of scrums. In this game alone there were 22, the most of any game, not helped by these kind of tackles by Fekitoa. His timing on Dingwall is absolutely perfect, catching him just below the ribs where the ball is being held and winning the turnover. The upside of all those scrums was the wonderful opportunities to attack. And on this occasion, Dan Robson feeds Minozzi nice and early and just lets him do his thing. Wonderful footwork, almost gets the score, but then Willis is on hand to drop over the line. If you look at that again, you'll notice that the scrum itself is heavily engaged, with the front 5 of the scrum putting lots of weight going forwards, and as Minozzi does his thing, you notice that Harris for the back row of Saints is detached from the inside defence, and as he chases the ruck, he doesn't notice that he's on his own. That means that there's a big space to cover, too much for anybody to get into, and Willis is in for an easy score. For me, the most interesting tactical play of the weekend came from the lineout. It's arguably the area of the game that enables teams to manipulate their opposition more than any other, with their ability to catch and drive, go off the top and anything in between. In this example, you can see Bristol gaining 20 metres up the field through a driving maul, and then indeed they seal their victory with this cheeky throw at the front, and with the help of a few of the backs they're able to put that extra weight on and gain the penalty try and the all-important first victory. We saw the same theme of the Twickenham Stoop, with Harlequins defeating Sale with this driving maul proving to be the decisive score of the match. Of the different setups, the 6+1 lineout is the most common. You can see Sam Underhill stood at the scrum half position, and being in the scrum half position enables that +1 to manoeuvre himself and get immediately onto the ball and get a clean transfer from the jumper. Notice Underhill and co are pre-bound in a strong position even before he will hit the ground. That enables them to form a tight, low wedge using McAnally and Stewart as the pillars to get its strong drive through the middle initially, and then an offset weight joined by the backs. And it's this contribution from Matavesi, Rockadiguni and indeed Spencer getting in and shifting the weight towards the left that really does the damage, that enables then Dunn to break away and score without too much challenge. For me, the real beauty of a maul is if you don't score directly from it, all the wonderful things that you can do instead. I absolutely love this deceptive play from Sale. We've got that 6+1 setup again with Curry stood at 9, De Klerk back 10 metres where he's got to stay until the line-out's over. The maul is well defended by Quins, however Sale are just using it to tell a story. Currently the play looks like a short hit, with Yard, Dupree and Hill all looking eager to get in and hit that 12 channel. Notice how flat those 4 defenders are with 2 players blind and then Brown importantly offset on the edge. And now it's time for the magic trick. We got Yard and Dupree pushed out the back, Hill has Chulagi short in a blocker play, and Yard on the inside does enough to hold Earl, forces him to make a tackling decision, and indeed brings Brown up, forces him to bite, and this one lovely pass puts McGuigan in to score in the corner. As we said earlier, deception doesn't just happen in the moment, it can be built up with the entirety of a match, and this play by Worcester demonstrates that perfectly. They run the same play on 3 occasions, each time with Lewis stood at the scrum half position in a 6+1 line-out, and also with Hugard stepped off. But they only use the maul as a deceptive act to draw those defenders in. They have lots of options to play out wide, and that enables Hugard now to make a cracking decision to see the disconnect from the inside of the line-out, take it with his lovely footwork and break through, taking Worcester into the 22. Now that they're behind the Gloucester defence, it's all about getting quick ball from the ruck and moving the ball to space, catching the defence before they can get into alignment. Worcester do really well to work the ball quickly from the ruck, but this lovely tackle from Lewis Ludlow is enough to knock the ball on and stop the try being scored. Barely 10 minutes later we see the second run through. Again, same 6+1 line out, Hugard stood as first receiver. I love the quick reaction from Gloucester to now put 2 players out to cover those outside options. This ever popular blocker setup gives Hugard multiple options, but he goes short, making use of that seam in the Gloucester defence. However, they get turned over shortly after. But good things come to those who wait. We see the same setup for the 3rd time. Worcester's tactics are all about trying to make it look like it's a catch and drive, where they engage the Gloucester back row into that maul, allowing Hugard a little bit of space now to be able to use that dog leg. All eyes on him and the plays he's used previously. And then it's time to unveil the magic trick. Arnett slides across the line, just taking attention away from his inside defenders, and this creates enough space on the inside for Hugard to pick a wonderful flat pass to Van Breeder to score under the posts. In total, 14 of the 29 tries scored across the weekend were scored from line-out start points. We've seen teams use the catch and drive, use reverse plays, and indeed build their deception over a number of phases. Let's hope there's more of this to come. These videos are very much made for lovers of the game. If you'd like to see more, or indeed like to see different things from me, please do leave a comment down below and I'll be sure to get back to you.